Okay, so this is part 2 of my video of how attending the 7-day event in Dallas with Dr. Joe completely blew my life up, but in a good way. More than a decade ago, when I started, this journey as a spiritual teacher and a minister, I promised I would always be authentic. I would never lie. I would always be true to who I am. But I got to tell you, this is a whole new level of vulnerability. I'm not uncomfortable in being vulnerable, but I will tell you it is, this level of vulnerability is, okay, fine, it's uncomfortable. I ended the last video by telling you that it was the last meditation of the last day when I finally broke. And yeah, I broke. Members of the med team were right there with me immediately. I don't even remember everything what happened. I just remember hearing someone sobbing hysterically on the floor, and it was me. It was me. I think that's the whole point of all of this, is that it was me. And it was always about me. And it was about my decisions, my successes, my failures, where I chose what was best and where I failed. The Dr. Joe events are just really powerful, and you're in that sacred space, which is a ballroom, by the way, but you're surrounded by other people who understand how to meditate, who understand how to hold energy and create that safe space for transformation. And so I wasn't really ready for the realizations that came, that it was me. You see, I could look at the situation and know that my husband had an injured brain, right? And his brain was on fire, and it wasn't his fault. But the one thing I was never willing to look at was my own failure, because I left myself and my children in a very, very bad place for those first 3 years. I should have sent my kids away to live elsewhere. They're all adults now, and they all have varying degrees of, complex PTSD from those first 3 years of their father's TBI. He never abused them, but they watched their mom be abused daily, and I failed them. God, that was a hard pill to swallow, to know I failed my kids. I failed me. I failed Scott. I was the one with executive functioning, and I didn't make the hard decisions that should have been made. We were limited with care because it was workers' comp, and they did finally place him in a facility only after he tried to run over 3 people. But they wouldn't do anything when the abuse was just against me. They just let it perpetuate. But the hardest part was knowing it was my failure. He had a broken brain. He couldn't handle his own body decisions, behaviors. And I should have been the person we needed. Like Dr. Joe said, be your own savior. I wasn't the savior my family needed. And that was the breaking point for me on that ballroom floor in Dallas. And I can justify this 1,000 ways. Look, I can say it was a hit to the head, happened abruptly, loss of income, there wasn't proper medical care. I can know all of that. And all of that is true. But I still didn't save my family. I didn't save my children. So the person I was most angry with, most disappointed in, the person who caused the most pain was me. My body just convulsed on that ballroom floor in anger, guilt, whatever. And I remember sobbing out, I'm just so broken in that moment. I'm just so broken. Just so broken, and I was. But I'm not now. The gift of clarity, right? To be able to see that situation with clarity, to be able to take ownership in my part, and then to be able to forgive myself, all in the blink of an eye, was so transformative and just so powerful that it answered the question, is there more? Could there be more? And the answer is yes. I remember Agnes sitting next to me with just so much kindness in her eyes. And at first it was like, save your kindness. I'm like, wait, no, give it to me. Give me your kindness. And she did. And oh man, I will forever be grateful for her. That was just, she and Casey were just there. And I'm so grateful, because that moment changed everything. To be able to look at it honestly without the filters of, you know, what I thought those experiences were, what they meant, or who was even responsible. To be able to transcend those emotions in a single moment and to be able to finally feel freedom. And most importantly, whenever you have, like Dr. Joe says, right, when you can look back at an experience without the pain of the emotion, you get wisdom. And it was in that moment I finally get the wisdom. So that last coherence healing, man, there was no part of me that my physical body had any energy left to fight. I remember laying on the floor and like I was so exhausted, like I couldn't even like lift my own arm. My body was just spent from processing all of that energy and emotion in that last meditation, which was good because that meant I had no resistance left in me. Those coherence healing, man, there's something. You should get you one of those, for real. So the next thing I remember really, and part of the last thing I remember about the ballroom was seeing this giant spiral on the ceiling. And zoop, up through the spiral I went. And I was gone hundreds of years, maybe 1,000. I don't know. I lived 100 lifetimes easily. I lived hundreds of lifetimes easily. And it was just the most powerful and healing experience I ever could have imagined. And even though it's going to sound crazy, guess what? I don't care because it really and truly happened. And it just freed me. So the first place I visited was my own bedroom when I was a little girl. And there was a lot of domestic violence in my home. And I remember praying for this angel to take me into the trees so that I would be safe. And the angel that took me in the trees was me. Me from that ballroom, going back in time and being my own hero. This next one's a little hard, but again, domestic violence in the home. And when I was about 4, my dad was hurting my mom very badly. And I actually went to go get the firearm, the gun that was hidden between the mattresses because I was scared he was going to kill her. And when I got there, the gun was gone, but the gun was always there. It was me that moved the gun. So 4-year-old me didn't have that life. The time I was driving around town square and I heard someone say, "Watch out for that truck," and they jerked the wheel. Guess what? Also me. And another time where I was leaning out of the car and I actually fell out, got sucked under and was going to be hit rolled over by the car. And the next thing I know, I was sitting up in the seat and I had these handprints, right, on my shoulders. That was also me. I went through all these moments in my life where divine intervention happened, but I saw that it was me, right? From that ballroom in Texas, going back to those moments and saving myself. Those were some powerful moments. Yeah. And so when I was done there, I lived 100 other lifetimes. I saw people in my life now and the roles we played in those other lifetimes. I had instant perspective on relationships that confused the fuck out of me prior. And I could see the chessboard on all these things that happened to bring me to certain moments to meet certain people for certain reasons. And it was so liberating and powerful and amazing. And yes, I saw the lifetimes where I had tried to save Scott in previous lifetimes when he was a Knights Templar and he had, was injured protecting me and my child. And so I lived it. I didn't observe it. I lived it. I lived those lifetimes. I was gone hundreds, if not 1,000 years in that single moment in the ballroom in Dallas. I guess we're at the limit here for this video, so to be continued.